Hello, everyone. My name is Annette Franz. I am founder and CEO of CX Journey Inc., a customer experience consulting firm based in Southern California. I'm so glad you're all here. Thank you so much for attending today. I think there's one really important thing that makes a great leader, and that is taking care of your people, taking care of your employees, right? Not just viewing them as stepping stones to your success or to the success of the business, right? There are humans there in front of you every day doing the work and wanting to do good work. And as I think it's your job to really take care of those people. And part of that is really getting to know them. Spend some time with them, get to know them personally. The great leaders that I have met have done just that. They know their employees' names, they know their spouses' names, their kids' names, their dogs and cats' names, right? They really take the time to know who their employees are. So that leads to some really great empathy and understanding, right? It's such a powerful trait for leaders to have, and I can tell you not every leader has that. Here's how I frame customer centricity and a customer centric leader and a customer centric culture is that it's really about putting the customer at the heart of everything that you do, right? I always say no discussions, no decisions, no designs without bringing in the customer's voice, without asking, how will this impact the customer? How will it make her feel? How will it add value for her? What problems will it solve for her? It really means that everything that the business does is with the customer's best interests in mind. And that's really, it's a mindset shift, it's a behavior shift, it's a culture shift, and it's a lot of work too. Right? And by the way, I think, going back to the first question about what makes a good leader, it also means that we put employees more first, right? People think about customer centricity, they think the focus is on the customer, but we really have to put the employee more first because it's the employee experience that drives the customer experience. I'll start with a concept called the spillover effect, right? And that really is, how you feel and your actions impact the person standing in front of you or the person on the other end, the receiving end, right? And so if the employee's having a bad day, if the employee is, I always like to say employees have to really have the tools, the resources, the training, the processes, the policies that aren't outdated or ridiculous to do the jobs that they want to do and do well. As a matter of fact, they tell me to serve my customers the way that they deserve to be served. That's what employees tell me. So if we set them up with all of those things, then the customer is going to have a great experience. But if those things are lacking, then the employee's frustrated, productivity is down, they start to not care, and that really reflects on how they then interact with customers and vendors and their colleagues. When I wrote a book called Customer Understanding. Well, as you go through the book, you hear me say, I've written a lot that this applies to employees too. This applies to employees too, right? So everything that we do to create a great customer experience, we do the same things to create a great employee experience. So yes, that closed loop process applies to employees as well. And I have to tell you that it's not used a lot on the employee side, unfortunately. And that's why employees laugh when they see surveys coming across their desk, right? Because they're like, oh, great, another annual survey, another survey. I actually have a client they did a quarterly survey, and the employees, because nothing was ever being done, they would actually copy and paste the comments that they had put into the survey. And then every quarter they would go back and find their notes and just copy and paste the notes, the comments from the previous quarter survey, And so that's a real problem. So leaders do need to close the loop on their employee surveys. And that's how they're going to get people to be excited to provide feedback so that they can continue to improve. So it's really listening to the employees, taking a look at the feedback, really making sense of it. You're going to analyze it, you're going to make decisions about it, you're going to prioritize it, look at it and say, okay, these are things we can fix now. These are things maybe that are longer term or down the road, but then go back to the employees and tell them, you know what, we heard you. This is what we heard. This is what we're doing now. This is what we can do later, or this is what we can't do. Set expectations. And that is so important to getting them to continue to provide great feedback. A lot of companies look at surveys, whether it's employees or customers or whoever they're getting feedback from, as checking the box, and think that's being customer centric because we're listening, or we've got surveys. They may not even be listening, right? That's the crazy part. But the problem is, it is a mindset shift and a behavior shift. You've got to start doing these things, and once you start doing them, and once they become ingrained in the DNA, and people start getting excited about, hey, we haven't seen our customer feedback, or hey, we haven't seen feedback from employees in a while, I want to know what's going on. Then once it gets ingrained, then it becomes sort of a natural habit going forward. But it's just really a behavior shift. Here's the other thing that is a problem. People focus on the metrics, and because they focus on the metrics, and it's the same thing on the employee side as on the customer side. Because they focus on the metrics, we do things differently, and we do different things when we focus on the metric than when we look at the experience, and we focus on what it takes to actually improve the experience, which ultimately, if we improve the experience, the numbers will move, right? Absolutely. Here's the thing. Customer-centric organizations that are truly customer-centric are not the ones who say, hey, we say yes to everything the customer asks for. Hey, the customer is always right. Or I just, saw this is customer-centric behavior. It's very tactical. The real customer-centric businesses are those that have it ingrained in their culture, right? And culture is all about core values plus behaviors. So you want to define your values, and then you want to define what the associated behaviors are for each value, so that people know what it means, and how to enact that, how to operationalize that, right? So here's an interesting thing, and I'll give you an interesting example of how powerful those core values are. I just talked to somebody the other day. I was doing a mentorship program for a client, and one of the folks on the team said to me, we just implemented we just added a new core value to our core values, and the core value is customer trust. And he said, you know what? And I wrote it down. I wrote it down because I love this quote. He said, we don't have to fight for it. It's just there. That's what happens when it's ingrained in your culture. Customer trust is now there for them. They don't have to, go, oh my gosh, the customer said this, or did the customer really mean that? Or did they do that? Or they broke the rules or whatever. No, now we trust our customers. You know what? If they returned something, they returned it. It was wrong. It was bad, whatever. We're taking it back. No questions asked, those kinds of things, right? I also have, sort of these 8 principles of what a customer-centric culture looks like, right? I always say, so first it's culture, right? Employees are more first, people before products, profits, and metrics. Customer understanding is really the cornerstone of customer centricity. Um, the last 2 are about outside in versus inside out. Outside in is bringing that customer voice into everything you do. And then the last one, this is always a shocking one, because this is like, I'm talking about the golden rule. Forget the golden rule. I get it. It's been around for thousands of years. It's in the Bible and everything. Forget the golden rule. Use the platinum rule. It's not about treating people how we want to be treated. It's about treating people how they want to be treated. While I'm doing cardio is I look at my calendar and I say, what's going on today, and what's the day going to look like, right? So really just kind of get my head into that space. The second thing that I do that separate from that is I time block on my calendar time to read, right? We all have 1,000 things that we can do in a day or would rather do in a day, and reading just gets pushed aside. But every afternoon, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen, right? So every afternoon I've got 30 minutes blocked. It's not a lot of time, but it is time that's dedicated to just grabbing a book, and I've got tons of them, grabbing a book off the bookshelf and diving in and really spending time reading. I think that's the key to learning, making the time for it. I would say speak up. Speak up. And there were times when I did where it hurt. It hurt really badly. It hurt me really badly. But if you speak up, whatever it is, either if it's whether it's for yourself or some cause or whatever, as long as you speak up, you know you'll never walk away going, I regret it, right? You'll never walk away going, I should have said that, or we shouldn't have done that, or why didn't I say, or I wish I had. But I think that's probably what I would go back to my younger self and say, speak up.